Hey guys, Deathslitter Gaming here, and we've got huge news coming out of the Magic world from yesterday. And the announcement is titled, On Standard and Moving the Banded Restricted announcement to November 10th. And what they mean by that is they're banning Agatha's stupid little cauldron. I just got beat on turn 3 by it. So the only question is, what else are they going to ban? The all-control board wipe bounce counterspell. Obviously, do I even need to say it? Esper, which is white, black, blue. Nightmare deck from hell, where the whole deck does one thing, and then they beat you with a manland on like turn 50. That could go. That could stand to go. I would not mind if that left standard forever, and they banned anybody who ever played it. And that deck has been a problem for about 8 years. On and off, so it's not like it really caught him by surprise there. Free casting Dinosaur, sure. I mean, just because I hate the card, I don't know if it's even that egregious in the numbers. Omniscience, but that's in that set that's legal till 2029, and it's an expensive card, so I can't imagine they would, but they should. I think what they'll do is get rid of the cards that bring it out of the graveyard for free, because Graveyard Resurrection is like the number one problem in about 5 different decks that everybody hates. Red Rush is kind of kept in check right now. It's not too bad. I want to see that stupid little blue thing that generates all the stupid golems. That thing could go straight back to hell where it came from. That one should have been banned in the last ban announcement. They made a huge mistake there. That deck is really hard to beat. And even when I do beat it, I'm not having a good time. And I probably beat it like 30-40% of the time with 2 of my decks out of 4, but I just hate it. It's just so stupid. I'm so done with it. Everybody's whining about Vivi Ornithir. I haven't seen that one get too nuts, but I've been told that it is. I guess just my decks are a really good matchup, so I have like a really biased experience with it, but I mean, sure, just reading it, I could see it. Spell spamming recursion crap and turbo draw, it's just, come on. I think they're going to pick one of the two between that and Agatha's Soul Cauldron. And if you think that I'm speculating, let me just read the first paragraph. With the results of the latest Spotlight series arriving on the heels of several high-profile standard events, the conversation around the cards Vivi Ornithir and Agatha's Soul Cauldron, and speculations on, quote, emergency bans in standard, we thought now would be a good time to check in. No, you should have checked in when you wrote the cards, okay? That's when you should have checked in. Checked in with who designed it and maybe do like a mental health check on them. Okay, it's the combo and it's the standard pool being 3 years that are the problem. I don't think either one of those are too bad in a vacuum. I have heard people make the argument that going to a 3-year standard so that only 1/3 of the cards cycle out and you might be able to resurrect some of your decks every time standard rotation happens was a positive thing to keep. Specifically to keep arena retention numbers. Okay, so that everybody doesn't just quit arena on the same day when every single deck loses 50% of their cards and anything powerful goes away, and then you're immediately forced to buy a whole bunch of the new crap that came out simultaneously. So, like, if that's your only scope, yes, but then the complexity, and then when you're building a deck, you have to consider more cards, and then the power level, and then the, like, really egregious stuff that they have to ban, and then people quitting because of the ban. You have to think of more than that. And I have heard that the Arena Desktop America numbers are down the toilet, and the Arena Mobile Asia numbers are through the roof, and they don't care because money is money. It's just like, a whole bunch of the long-timers and old school players went back to retirement and not playing or buying anything from at least the last couple sets because they're sick of this Universes Beyond crap, but then they're selling it to people that are like, whoa, Lord of the Rings, whoa, Final Fantasy, ooh, Spider-Man. So they don't care because it's money. At the end of the day, it's money. But like, is it durable? Is it sustainable for the next 5 years? Absolutely not, in my opinion. No way. Zero chance whatsoever. Mark and the creation of just one Soulstone have both confirmed that there is more Marvel coming before and during 2027. So they are driving it off a cliff, but that accelerator is making a little bit of money on the way out. So whatever, good luck with that. The real problem is Hasbro treating them like a piggy bank because that's what caused all this. And now that they're, I think, 80% of Hasbro's income, and Hasbro had to sell off like multi-billion-dollar assets that they acquired and then did nothing with. That's a bad situation. I would describe it as parasitic if I were to sum it up in one word. So that's the state of standard. What are they going to do about it? And I only read the first paragraph. This is all new to me. Okay. So this was written by Carmen Klomperins, a gender dysphoria sufferer, I believe would be the technical term. First, we do think we got our banded restricted announcement timing windows wrong during this part of the year. Yes, you got it wrong for 2 years in a row now, I believe. This is the first year we've tied these announcements to play seasons. And then they should have put as opposed to what it was before, which is set releases. And that was smart, but it was like, well, it's not smart to fix an egregious mistake that everybody saw as idiotic. The same day it was announced, screamed at you on social media that it was idiotic during, before, and after it happened, and then you still didn't fix it on time. Like, that's not a pat on the back. That's just like you putting a Band-Aid on something that you shouldn't have caused in the first place. So, we don't think we gave ourselves quite the right Windows. Yes, Windows 11, anyway, that has put additional strain on a few formats, including standard, and we know that that can pull some of the fun out of playing competitively. I don't get how you get from A to B there. I think they're just like stringing words together to be like, we need to ban more often because we keep printing egregious crap and nobody wants to play standard anymore, so we have to do something, so we're changing something. Not, oh, it's because of the timing. No, it's because of the cards. It's because of the cards you printed and the pool being 3 years. That is the problem. So don't try and tell me something else when we all know that's what it is. We as the community have proven over and over and over we are smarter than you. To that end, we're going to be more aggressive next year with the number of ban restricted announcement windows and the timing, adding more. Okay, instead of scheduling them, they were like, we don't want to blindside people. We don't want to ruin something before a tournament. How about you just ban something when it's a problem? Because either you're going to ruin the tournament or the decks are going to ruin the tournament. And then nobody wants to watch, and you just embarrass yourself publicly in front of tens of thousands of viewers that I'm sure aren't bots. We're still fiddling with that cadence. How about whenever something's a problem? But our aim is to have one for each major set release or close to that amount. Yeah, exactly. That's basically what it was before. We've been through such a roller coaster that I don't even remember what they used to do. But I'm pretty sure if you go back far enough, there was no schedule. They just did it when they felt it was necessary. Well, okay, they did it 6 months later than when everybody else felt it was necessary, if I were to be accurate. So they say they want to maintain a sense of predictability and avoid disruptions during play seasons. But see, nobody goes to or cares about those events. You can't cater to 1%, or 0.1%, actually, the last numbers I saw, of people who participate in that level, okay? It's not F&M. Nobody at F&M plays standard. It's just the tournament. So if you're saying, well, I don't want to disrupt those aren't your customers, okay? That is a rounding error on your sales numbers, is like 100 or 500 competitive players who go to a tournament once. And you know what? Give them 3 weeks notice, they can build a different deck, okay? Usually they aren't even building their own damn deck anyway. They just use AI or some bots or copy it from someone else. If I trained for a month on a deck and they rug pulled me a week before, I'd be pissed too. But I'd also be pissed if I went to a tournament, all the trans judges decided that they're going to discriminate against me because I'm a white male, and then I lose to a cheater stacking their deck and rigging the shuffle. So why don't we address that before we address, oh no, they made a change too close to the tournament that nobody watches or participates in and nobody cares about. Subscribe if you think you're on the right channel at this point. And if my statements hurt your feelings and you're a little bit offended, well, go steal a ball from a child at a baseball game and post some AI-generated art that you're trying to pass off as your own on Reddit. That'll make you feel better. So blah, 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 they want to avoid disruptions. However, it's not always possible to have that particular cake and eat it too. But we hear loud and clear that we don't have enough windows of opportunity. Yes, you had one annually and you didn't even use it for the most idiotic reason I've ever heard in my entire life. Then you had one that didn't go far enough. Then you had an emergency ban after that one, if I remember correctly. And now people are asking for another one. So yes, you need one every time a change is made. Obviously, shortly after it's made, because shortly after it's made when people are rebuilding their decks for tournaments anyway. So you can have your cake and eat it too. I would recommend you just play test better and stop printing blatantly broken cards. So we're also going to slightly move up our previously announced banned and restricted announcement date from November 24th to November 10th, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know that was happening. This keeps the basic premise of not interfering with players who had planned their decks and travel for the standard RCQ season, all 10 of you, while still moving up the announcement and giving players more time to prepare for the World Championships should something change. I mean, if that's simultaneously held on Arena, they have like the slightest sliver of a point, but come on. What we're not going to do is create a previously unannounced emergency banning window. If it's an emergency ban, it's not in a window, in the middle of the RCQ season. Oh no. I mean, okay, in the middle of a qualifier. They have a little bit of a point, but I go back to my point of screw those people, who cares? You're either playing that deck and you're an asshole and you're just going to win with an unfair deck, or you're playing against that deck and you want it banned. Which one of those is in the majority? And let me ask you again, what about the Eldrazi Winter? Where I believe it was 72% of people were playing the same deck at a tournament. And they didn't want to disrupt the tournament, so they waited until after it to ban it. And then they ruined the tournament by everybody just getting mirror matches and nobody giving a crap. Nobody tuned in. The chat was just telling them they messed up. It was a joke, and every match was a coin flip. It was a disgrace to the game. So that's why I'm bringing up that as an example, because they're kind of going to do it again, it sounds like. It's going to be Agatha versus Agatha. It's idiotic. So they say, ultimately, we opted to stick more or less to what we had said we'd do for a few reasons. One, the aforementioned RCQ players who have taken the time, effort, and money to plan travel. Are they really not going to travel, go to the tournament if you ban one card? Really? A surprise change to the format hurts them the most, but what about the other 99%? And it undermines one of our clearly stated goals for these announcements, to provide players with the stability and knowledge to make deck choices for events that nobody goes to and nobody watches. Wow, good job there, Carmen, whatever. I'm sure that's the name they were born with. Anyway, they just go on and on about some BS. Then they say, we believe that we will likely take action in November. Vivi Ornitier is warping the standard format. It likely needs to go. We're unsure about Agatha. Okay, Agatha has to go. Vivi's on the fence, so you're wrong there. But we also don't think the format has reached its final form. Oh, it could get more egregious and broken. It could win on turn 2. It could become Legacy, guys. It's already modern. It's actually past modern. Which will give us the clearest direction to set standard, blah, 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 blah. So it might get worse. Maybe they mean it might get worse and we have to ban more than that. I don't know. Maybe the next set will have 0-cost colorless artifact destruction, guys. Who knows? Here's what we see right now. Vivi Cauldron decks have taken the spotlight with disproportionate metagame shares and top finishes. Yes, I bet it's in the 60+% range, and I bet that's why they're not stating it. But recently, players have found a version of Mono Red that is rebalancing the scales. Oh, so Red Blitz. Red Rush versus egregious multi-draw garbage. Like infinite loop, basically. Awesome. Not only is it more played on the M2G Arena ladder because it's faster and people just want to get 5 wins and move on with their life and play a better game, FYI, but it has a better win percentage against the field that is knocking off Vivi Cauldron decks at a clip above 60%. Really? In a face-up, 60%? I don't know if I believe that. We're also seeing new decks like the second place mono green Stompy deck from this Magic Online Challenge. I want to click to see the deck list, but I already know it's probably not mono green and they're lying and it's dinosaurs, but okay, maybe, sure. That have promising win percentages, but lower play rates. Yeah, probably because if you don't go first, you lose against Cauldron. I already know this. Despite the top finishes from the Vivi Cauldron decks, it's entirely possible Mono Red is the best deck in the format and that there's further evolution coming. People shouldn't have to build around it. So if you want to wait to see what other decks you should assassinate too, cool, but you usually don't do that. You just chop off the very top edge and then let it go back to where it was, as broken as it is right now, and call that fixed, which is completely unacceptable. So they say Vivi is the clear outlier. They're wrong. It's the Cauldron, but the format hasn't reached an equilibrium point yet. And then point 3, we believe standard play may be hurt in the short term by 1 or 2 dominant decks. Yes, long term it is certainly hurt by banning decks out from under players in a surprise move. No, because nobody wants to play against the same decks that they can't beat over and over and over. You are wrong. You are utterly wrong about that. We want players to have as much confidence as possible in their ability to put a deck together and play it for as long as possible. That's why we moved to a 3-year standard and why we try to minimize bans where possible. Or you could just say screw the net deckers and let people build a damn deck and have fun. You could do that. Or when standard constructed turns into complete and utter unplayable garbage, you could actually make it so limited isn't so rigged in the matchmaking. So it's not just all mirror matches. So that's not a double LO system. Rank and wins to amplify the fact that if you get away with one, you are never getting to 3 or 4 wins. Or just fix the predictability of the draft bots. That would be nice for once, considering you already said you were going to do it and briefly did it and then backed off because it was too hard for you. That would help retain customers too, but you guys don't even know what the problem truly is, so you can't approach it and fix it. This is a good place to add that our philosophy on standard bans hasn't changed. Okay, I don't care. Oh, this is funny. They say our intention is to make changes to a format once a year around rotation unless we have what constitutes an emergency ban. We call it a Felidar situation. Let me tell you about the Felidar situation. It was like a turn 4 infinite loop, okay? That was considered really, really bad in standard at the time because it wasn't the standard now. Like you would win on turn 6 instead of 3. They didn't ban it. We called it the cat combo. They announced they weren't banning it. The community lost their minds, and even long-term supporters who kiss WOTC's ass told them what they thought of them on social media. And 3 days later, they said, we do have enough information now, and we are banning it. We're emergency banning it out of cycle. Haha, good for us. Good guy WOTC. Our numbers are so different than they were 48 hours ago, guys. Trust me. And it's totally not because of community backlash. So that was the Felidar situation. They dropped the ball on it so badly, I can't believe they even named something after it. So they do say, an emergency ban called the Felidar situation. We do think we are likely at that point, but it's good to keep in mind that we consider an emergency situation to be an instance where we ban a card during a window other than the yearly rotation window, not one where we would go off schedule. Wait, what? Isn't that the same thing? I'm never going to reread it because I read it wrong. They're just wrong about that entire paragraph, so it doesn't really matter what they say. Then they make a fourth point. All right, Reddit, it's bullshit. So, blah, blah, blah. Our next BNR thing will be November 10th. Hopefully it's Red Rush and this bullshit, and then about 5 more. That would be nice, but they'll never do it. They're just telling us, like, our threshold is so high and we're going to wait and see because we want tournament players and player confidence. I mean, they don't even have an exit survey, so I think they're just guessing that people who don't log into Arena after a ban announcement are leaving because of the ban announcement, when really I bet you more people come back. I've seen slower server responses, more lag, and getting matched up against more exotic player names that I don't recognize in the higher leagues right after a ban announcement. People come back to see if it's fixed, and people do the same right after a new set is released or right after rotation. So they're clearly interested in like sticking their head up out of the ground and looking around and saying, is it safe to come out yet? But maybe you should implement an exit survey. Send them an email that says, hey, you haven't logged in a while. Here's 200 free gems if you click this thing. And also, we're curious why you stopped playing. And it could just be, oh, time. I started a new job. I had a kid. You know, it might just be like, whatever, attrition. Or it might be, I'm sick of saying the same stupid decks over and over and over. I'm sick of your ban announcement's not going far enough. But see, they don't want to hear that because then their egos would shatter and they'd have to admit and acknowledge that they were wrong. And they don't want that. They don't want to know the truth because it hurts their feelings. And lefties only care about their own feelings. They don't care about facts. And on that positive, cheery note, can't wait till November 10th. It is about 67 years from now in standard time. So good luck. I'll see you guys next time.